Hey, are you going to MagicCon Chicago? If you are, I am doing a meet and greet with Bosch and Roll from 10 a.m. to noon on Friday in the Creator Corner. Please come by, say hello. I'll be happy to sign some cards or playmats or whatever, and I would love to give you some of my Monarch Treasure and Initiative tokens. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher, aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video. And I Hate Names has challenged me to brew around Intruder Alarm. So this card is shenanigans, in short. Creatures don't untap during their controller's untap steps. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield, untap all creatures. If you Google this card, you will find so many combos that this thing just happens to enable. And I had to figure out what could we do with this while making something that was still legacy viable. And that was the tricky part. So my scumbag ancient tomb gamer brain immediately went to, what if we play this as a prison piece instead of a combo piece? And what if I played a bunch of like Torpor Orbs in a Phyrexian Dreadnought shell? And I ultimately decided, while that would probably be okay, it probably wouldn't be any fun anytime that it wasn't actually working. And I have some other ideas that I want to do with Phyrexian Dreadnought, so I decided to shelve that idea. And I went through a couple of iterations of what I thought would be viable. So let's take a look at where my head was at initially. So the first thing that I started sketching up was going to use creatures that looked like Steward of Solidarity. So the idea was exert it, make a 1/1. The 1/1 ETBs and untaps the Steward, and so I can make infinite creatures with that. And I was like, hell yeah. Surely there's a bunch of creatures that look like this that just tap to make a token. And in doing my initial searches, a lot of them ended up being a little bit more expensive and sometimes had some other like rider or some other situational thing attached to them. And while I was going to like go for this like Coco Intruder Alarm combo aspect and then like use some mana dorks to like get a bunch of mana while I'm doing this as well, I ultimately decided that like this was going to be clunky and I was going to get super blown out by removal spells. And while this would do a good job of being an Intruder Alarm deck, I didn't think that I would be playing good Magic anytime that I didn't have Intruder Alarm. And like, I'll be caught dead before I play an Enlightened Tutor. I really hate playing those sorts of top of library tutor cards unless you're doing something really broken that's just going to win the game, like Doomsday. And since Intruder Alarm is often going to require one or more turns of being in play for you to execute your thing. So for example, like I can turn this turn 2, this turn 3, make infinite creatures, and I still have to pass the turn and make it around another turn cycle, right? And like a Swords to Plowshares is going to blow me out. A Boseiju on this is going to blow me out. And I was worried that like the Intruder Alarm might end up hurting me quite a bit if my mana dorks don't end up untapping because something gets countered. Like, life gets bad. So I decided to zero in on one of the token producers that I found, and that is Imperious Perfect, which does require mana in order to do its thing, which is less good. However, assuming that you have a mana dork, it is not a problem, right? Because Intruder Alarm untaps everything at the same time. So the goal is mana dork of some kind, plus Imperious Perfect, plus Intruder Alarm. That gives us infinite creatures. And wouldn't you know it, if we play Gaia's Cradle, infinite creatures is also infinite mana. And infinite mana can turn immediately into a Crater Hoof, or can turn into some activations of Allosaurus Shepherd. Like we've got things that we can do here. So I'm gonna go way way back to, I don't even want to try to put a date on it. Let's talk about Chaos Elves. Chaos Elves was a meme name for a version of elves that did not play natural order. That is, without order, there is chaos. This is why we don't name legacy decks like this anymore, just by the way. So, do I think natural order should be in every build of elves? Yeah, basically. The card's really, really dumb. Like, it is so powerful. It is such a low investment to just win the game or effectively win the game. But if we're trying to get cute with something else, we've got to make cuts somewhere, so cutting the most expensive thing kind of makes sense. We are going to be going a little bit heavier on like the Birch Lore Rangers Heritage Druid style mana production stuff for the purposes of having enough mana dorks to actually trigger this infinite combo when it is going to work. And Intruder Alarm, more generally speaking, might end up locking down some of our opponent's creatures. My goal here is to present a functional deck when Intruder Alarm is not in my hand or when that fails. And I think this is going to accomplish that better than the first thing that I was sketching up would. Of note here, we have some things that can just asymmetrically untap our creatures. So like we can use Wirewood Symbiote to untap an elf. We can use, here it is, we can use Quirion Ranger to untap a creature as well. So we can kind of get around our own Intruder Alarm with these untap things. For the purposes of this video, we are going to pretend that Orcish Bowmasters is not a card that exists, as I am going to be playing Glimpse of Nature Elves, and this general train of trying to like replay Elvish Visionaries repeatedly off Wirewood Symbiotes is just like not a safe thing to do in Legacy anymore. We're just gonna cover our eyes and hope we don't queue into Orcish Bowmasters. Now, as far as the sideboard goes, Legacy is fast right now. In the instances where we just run into something like the Sticker Goblin deck that can just completely go under what we would normally be doing, I think we need natural order for Atraxa as a giant life-linking body, which might be able to help us stabilize versus those creatures. Broadside being able to fling whatever I block could potentially be an issue. Otherwise, we are just going to play good, solid green sideboard cards. Pick your poison. I should put this on screen. All right, here you go. Pick your poison is something that I think should be in this deck. I'm recording this like minutes after the downtime where the murders at Karlov Manor just went live on Magic Online. So this was something that I couldn't just find in the first couple of minutes before I started recording here. But if you end up playing with this deck list later, I recommend maybe dropping a Seeds of Innocence and a Collector Oof or something like that to play two of these cards. It's not the most objectively powerful thing in the world, like it is a sorcery, but it has a really wide range of effects. You're able to make your opponent sacrifice an Urza's Saga, you're able to blow up a critical artifact, get rid of a Murktide Regent. I think that card is just legitimately very, very good in a mono green shell. Note that we are on tropical islands to play Intruder Alarm. I don't think I want to do something like play Flusters out of the side, Flusterstorms that is. I think that's reasonable, but I don't want to have too many cards in my deck that I can't deploy, and ultimately, like, I would like to kill my opponent. And I don't think we are going to have to worry too much about the blue mana with a bunch of Trops and Birch Lore Rangers here. So yeah, if you end up needing some Pick Your Poisons or other green cards, check out Cool Stuff Inc. and use promo code ThrabenU to save 5% on your order. Let's battle. So it occurs to me in the deck tech that I did not cover one of the things that Intruder Alarm is capable of doing in this deck. One of the other reasons I wanted to put this in Elves is because what it can do with Glimpse of Nature chains. So this is my turn 3. I'm going to go ahead and cast 2 copies of Glimpse of Nature, okay? And now I'm going to go ahead and cast a creature. So I'm going to just always yield to these. I draw 2 cards. This enters. I untap all of my creatures. Now I can tap Dryad Arbor for mana, draw some more cards, And this now untaps all of my creatures. Well, guess what? I now have Heritage Druid. I tap these for 3 mana, and now look what I am capable of doing. Every time that I go and cast a creature, I can draw some cards while going and untapping all of these. And I am immediately at the amount of mana where I can activate Allosaurus Shepherd immediately and start attacking. Our chain kind of fizzled here. I mulliganed a couple times to kind of force Glimpse and Intruder Alarm to be in my hand. But this is something else that this deck is capable of doing. And I could even play another Intruder Alarm to stack up multiple copies of untapping my creatures at the same time. So this is a neat thing we could do. All right, we don't quite have enough mana to keep this one despite having all the pieces of our combo. And this one is fine. Land number 3 probably just goes back here. To play Mystic into Visionary Nettle Sentinel into Imperious Perfect and just honestly play Beatdown Elves until we draw an Intruder Alarm or something else cool to do. Yeah, I think I'm getting rid of that. And we're going to lead on this here, honest to goodness, Elvish Mystic. Oh, sorry, I had desktop audio on for when I was recording something with Brian. Let's shut that off. You don't need Moto sounds. Okay, so we've got options. Chatted with my opponent a little bit. I don't know how unfair this Polluted Delta is. I think I'm going to fetch. I'm going to fetch before I draw here. I'm going to play Elvish Visionary prior to Wirewood Symbiote, which means that this is not immediately protected, but if I draw something like a Mana Dork, I might want to play that first. Wirewood is dazable here. Let's see if that happens. A Tropical Island. It is an island cycle. And a daze. That's fine. So the next turn, I can play my Elf Lord if my opponent is on something like Sultai Beans. We can get in under Bowmaster. Oh, that's nice. We can even stack up multiple of these fellows. Let's go, yeah. I'll fetch a new Trop. I go ahead and floop this into play. I can just attack for 4. But I think I would like to play another 3/3 body, and if it sets my opponent back another land drop, like, I'm good. Send it. We do have lethal next turn if we draw an Intruder Alarm, at least conceptually speaking. We shouldn't get too excited, like my opponent has 7 cards in hand, like, no Brainstorm or other use of their mana. Okay. We're looking like beans. Glimpse is weird right now. So, no, I don't want to be looking at this. Intruder Alarm Elves. I can get another one of these. I can go and get an Allosaurus Shepherd. I can go and get a Wirewood Symbiote to protect my stuff. I kind of like that. I think I like that more than like a Dazable Lord. Alright. There is a Wirewood. Wirewood untapping this to create multiple creatures is actually like really cute. I think I send in with this many. No one ever could have seen this coming. Oh no, the Wirewood is killable by Bowmasters. Okay, they missed that. That's good. Yeah, they figured it out. There's the block. Am I okay with this trade? A little awkward to bounce this right now. Yeah, maybe I'm just okay with this. Also, so much for pretending that Orcish Bowmasters doesn't exist. I think if I have 1 more mana, I bounce it, untap Elvish, or untap this, and then make 2 elves in 1 turn cycle. And I think that ends up being pretty good. You may Brainstorm. It's somewhat interesting that they chose to use the Underground Sea for that Brainstorm, because conceptually it seems to me like they want to use a black removal spell a high like proportion of the time. If they already have the other Underground Sea in hand, it's like whatever, but that comes to mind for me. Sure. That occurs. All right, they get a polluted delta back. I'll make my Deuter end of turn. This doesn't untap. I can make it untap. I have to decide whether or not I'm just going to continue making creatures or whether or not I just want to bash in for 2 additional points of damage here. If this gets blocked, I do 2, 4, 6 damage. It's close. I think I'm just using this right now, by the way. This is purely to untap this creature. I'll send it in. It's really weird for my opponent to block with the Bowmasters now that I have played a Glimpse, because if they take that off the table and my last thing is an elf, it is a massive blowout. Yeah, so they don't block. So I successfully get in for this 3 points of damage. I essentially turned Glimpse of Nature into Lightning Bolt. It's a fun little Jedi mind trick. Play Dryad Arbor. Now I am not immune to blowouts here. If I get too greedy in one direction or another, it is possible that my opponent can steal a win back. So like a Bowmaster ping Dryad Arbor, kill Dryad Arbor, and like a Fatal Push on my Lord could really put a damper on my attack step, for example. So it's possible that I don't go for lethal immediately, and I try to continue making some creatures for another turn or two before making the final push for damage. Like, I am very fine attacking with these 3 creatures and this if it gets to untap. This one's really valuable, though. All right, let's see if I draw a spell. I do, and it's a really good one as well. So this untaps Nettle Sentinel. And at this point, I am probably willing to just attack in with everything and attempt to present lethal. And we'll see what happens. It is a new Bowmasters. I assume targets this Dryad Arbor. It's dead. My opponent now has 3 blockers, so they can go like 1, 2, 3, and take 2 and not be dead. Ooh. Do you also have the Fatal Push? Oh, this fetch puts them to 2, though. So this is going to become a 1/1. Awkward. This is also a 1/1. I think it's fine. I'll return this. I'll untap. Oh, fuck, I did that wrong. Oops. This is honestly not that bad. It means my Lord dies, but I am better at going wide. I don't lose this in combat. I take out one of these, redeploy this. It's probably fine, but that is not what I intended on doing. Okay, so this trades with an Orc token. My opponent can either chump or double block. Okay, that's fine. So most of the board clears. This is dazable. There is a daze. I end up probably in a worse position than if I had like done the play that I narrated. Welcome to playing while talking through your own plays. This sort of thing happens all the time. Can't be mad about it. And now it's just a matter of, does my opponent find a new creature or some new removal spells? Thunder does not shuffle. Feels like Murktide Regent has been found. And that's a little scary. Like, that's my opponent's way to pivot. If I'm okay with being dazed, doing this for X's 2 and grabbing an Elvish Visionary is really good. We've seen 2 of the dazes be used already, and Force of Will is not a valid play here. So I think I am okay with trying this. 3rd daze. C'est la vie. And I don't think I attack for 1 point of damage here and lose 1 creature in process. Beanstalk's fine. Basically anything that doesn't immediately impact the board right now is fine, and Up the Beanstalk is best with Force of Will in particular, which is not a castable card right now most of the time. It becomes different if like my opponent has a Fatal Push and they can kill one of these 2 if I attack with both. But it feels sort of like my opponent gets put on the defensive here. Glimpse is not good here. Oh, I'm chilling. I don't like that I'm giving my opponent this much time. Like, there's still 2 more Orcish Bowmasters in deck. There's probably another Witherbloom Commander 2 in the deck. If one more land drop happens, Force of Will can be hard cast. Another Murktide would be scary here. It is a Murderous Cut instead. That's also scary. So the Murktide can now attack because my opponent gets the first attack here. Like, we have each other on 2 turn clocks, but they get the first attack. So I could draw an Intruder Alarm and keep the Murktide tapped down. I did not. I am unfortunately dead, and I think my misclick costs me that one. I don't think I lose that one if I still have the Lord. Alright, chokes and endurances are really good. I don't think I need the natural orders here. Do I like this? I really like the Imperious Perfects. I just kind of get obliterated by Bowmasters. We knew that in the deck building stage, though. I need to board in 7 cards. So, like, these are coming in. I don't know that I can board in 3 non-creatures and still keep Intruder Alarm. I think those are going to go and I trim some number of X1 creatures. Or, hold on. Glimpse is probably worse. Okay. So am I getting rid of Wirewoods because they're always an X1, whereas all my elves can grow? The Wirewood doing this stuff isn't that great. You know... Okay, I think we keep the Intruder Alarm. I think it's not crazy to board into Natural Order, but I'd like to try some other things here. This has the combo and has it relatively quickly. I am in for this. I unfortunately have to get Tropical Island, which I'm not a fan of in a known Wasteland matchup. Hopefully that's fine. If things get to go my way, I get to play Birchlore, play Gaia's Cradle, tap it for 2, have 3 mana, and then I can play one of these cards of some nature. Yeah, next turn's gonna be sweet. Serious fucking villain energy right here. So I'll cast this. I have 3/4 mana. I think I just play the Lord. I think I just play the Lord so that nothing can die. I have 1 more mana here that I can't quite do anything with. I attempt an infinite combo on my next turn, which is sweet. Now, does it work is an entirely different question. Let's see. We have officially gotten the what in chat. Aw. That's no fun. Alright, let's use a floating mana here. Let's cast a second Allosaurus Shepherd. I'm going to go ahead and just make another critter here. I think I am fine attacking with all of these. Bowmasters is weird. I think I'm just pressuring my opponent here. Like, I can cast this Elvish Visionary later. Also, like, I just have Gaia's Cradle plus Allosaurus Shepherd as a way to end this game that does not involve my infinite combo. Fatal Push on the Lord is very good. But having 2 copies of Allosaurus Shepherds means that my stuff is going to remain uncounterable, and I can just pump mana into Gaia's Cradle for a kill next turn. I can just do so with these 2 lands, assuming that nothing changes before my next turn. Alright, we've got a land drop and an Orcish Bowmasters, so my opponent can take me off of a little bit of mana for the next turn. Hopefully there's not a follow-up Fatal Push. That would be annoying. I find it hard to believe that like, just not doing this is correct. So 4, 5, 6, activate, combat, send them. I assume we have to see 2 chumps to keep life totals reasonable. My opponent will take 5 and go to 10, and then they can try to answer the other Allosaurus Shepherd next turn. And if they do so, hopefully I just choke them afterwards. Ooh. That's real good. This is why I was worried about playing Tropical Island on turn 1, honestly. Beans are fine as long as there's not a Force of Will follow-up. Note that my green spells can't be countered right now. And Choke is a green spell. Delicious. I have my cake and eat it too. 1, 2, 1. No, I cannot. Green. 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 Choke. Gets 2 of the 3 lands. I will not pay for days. Note that my opponent is probably doing that to get another use out of their blue land, not because they did not realize that Choke was green and, like, this is uncounterable. Like, it very clearly says so on the card for online play. Combo. Seems like a Murderous Cut is probably going to take this out. I am correct. It does draw a card. I have a 3-turn clock, assuming that I don't want to cast spells. Ooh. Do I want to cast spells, though? Green Sun for Birch Lore? Or for Quirion is quite good right now. So green. Cast this for 1. So I want Quirion. Quirion will untap Elvish Mystic. I'll bounce Tropical Island. Replay Tropical Island. Go green and 1. I'm going to cast an Elvish Visionary while I know my opponent does not have Bowmasters available. Nice. And we'll call it a turn here. I can activate Quirion Ranger again on my opponent's turn to bounce my Tropical Island. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 power in play instead of 3 power in play. And I also have much better mana prospects. Quirion, target Elvish Mystic, bounce Trop, get a new Trop. I think I'm just sending everything in combat. Kind of sucks if I lose 3 of these things. Maybe I don't send... if I don't send an Elvish Mystic... if I don't send an Elvish Mystic, like, maybe this one just gets pinged. It's weird. I think I'm just going to send it all in. Okay. So now I will go... I don't think I have Bowmasters anymore. So now I'll go green, untap, bounce, 2, Visionary, draw a new card. That's perfectly reasonable. Are we only in game 2? Just by the way. Or are we in game 3? We are in game 2. My opponent is very down on clock right now. So now they know about Intruder Alarm. I don't know that this changes their sideboarding a lot. It can change my evaluation of how good Natural Order is. I think I'm just trying to play this mid-range beat game versus my opponent rather than trying to resolve Natural Order. The issue with Natural Order is that I don't always necessarily get to 4 mana and remain there easily. This is perfectly fine. Going to keep it. The fact that my opponent is on the play is annoying, because I'd really like to play Elvish Visionary on turn 2, but that's like a little dubious with Bowmasters just being so good. And like, this is why traditional Elves has just fully disappeared. Like, it's so good versus the Glimpse plan. It's so good versus all of the X1s. Uphill battle. No shuffle on Ponder. This is my play. I hate that it's my play, because Bowmasters, but it's my play. It is just very objectively the highest upside play that I have. It does bait out Sorcery Speed Bowmasters or Sorcery Speed Witherbloom Command on this creature, though, if my opponent has it, which informs me for whether or not I play this spell. Okay, fantastic. So, I think I'm interested in Dude, play Cradle, Dude. Now I have 3 mana. I will go ahead and take this draw while I am safe from Bowmasters. What do we pick up? We pick up a Quirion Ranger. I'm fine casting that. And I'll pass the turn. This is a hand where I am just going to shove 5 elves sideways until my opponent dies. Like, that is the plan. We're hoping not to run into some sort of toxic deluge, pernicious deed sort of card. And my opponent is in very real danger of dying to time. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, they just get a regular land drop. I'm going to attempt to clear my opponent's graveyard and keep something like a Murktide Regent from slipping into play. Land Visionary, I think. If I tap this blue source, I can't play an Intruder Alarm if I draw one. I think that's fine. I'm planning on attacking and doing... planning on attacking and doing post-combat endurance. I guess I don't even necessarily want to play Intruder Alarm right now. Like, I don't have the other portion of my combo, and my opponent doesn't have creatures that I don't want to untap. Force of Will is fine. Like, I would like the endurance. Don't get me wrong. I guess Intruder Alarm is kind of cute with Dryad Arbor, right? Like, that is just a way to cheat that untap step without using the stack. That is another Witherbloom command. Goodbye, Elvish Visionary. 2, 4. I mean, I get to take out like half of my opponent's life total here. That is a card. Am I casting that? No. At least not right now. It's really cute with Quirion Ranger. I can just like bounce Dryad Arbor at will. I'm gonna say no. I think it backfires some portion of the time. Sure. All right. We just Mystic Sanctuarying another removal spell. We are. Endurance not resolving is a bit of a huge deal. If you wait on the Murktide Regent, you can grow it one more with Mystic Sanctuary. Not sure if the tropical island over here specifically needs to be held up. Sure. So I guess I want the Murktide Regent to attack, and then I play Intruder Alarm. Maybe for the multiple spells it needed to happen. Okay, sure. That's down, and there's a drain as well. Got it. All right. Oh, this is so weird. I think I want to cast this face up. Sure. Oh, I see. That's just returning Mystic Sanctuary. So now, let's play an Intruder Alarm. Sure. So that cantrips. I can now go 1, 2, 3, and just cast another one. So yeah. Let's untap target creature, returning a forest. Play an Intruder Alarm. Untap my creatures. And call it a turn. I can untap my creatures at will. Oh, my Gaia's Cradle. Alright, my opponent attacks. That Murktide Regent now doesn't untap. Bowmaster's still a shithead. So hopefully that doesn't happen. Ooh. Yes. My opponent draws 2 cards and untaps both Murktide Regents. This is just presenting lethal. I think I'm dead. I don't have something like Natural Order in my deck that I can just play and spin the game here. Well, that's a blocker. All right. So I guess in my opponent's beginning of combat step, I play this prior to them untapping, so I don't untap these. I think that's where I'm at. Yep, I know the scale up. I'm not dead to it. So 1, 2, 3. Cast this. Don't target my opponent. I don't want to grow this other Murktide Regent. I will not endurance myself. So I now untap these. And if my... Yeah, okay. So they don't go to untap with both. They'd like to kill this endurance first. And I'm just looking to time my opponent out here. Oh, shit. Yes. That seems good. My opponent just cracks it for X is 3, and that kills me. All right. I am dead. We get punished for playing the cute card rather than a real card, although we did attempt the combo once. GG's. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com. Just the best place to host your deck lists online, just full period. It is. And I can say lots of nice things about them, or I can just show you that I have 328 deck lists on this site, and I think that's about the best endorsement that I can give them. So my mana's a little questionable here. I can play Trop into Quarian Ranger, bounce my own land on turn 2 to play Elvish Visionary, and try to keep the entire combo in my hand. But I think between like one of my lands potentially being killable and this awkwardness that I just go ahead and ship it. This is unimpressive, and we're going to hope the top of the deck does something to help this out. Please don't Bowmaster me again. Yeah, this is another Bowmaster matchup in all likelihood. Unfortunate. And we draw another land, which I very much do not want. All right, the Nettle Sentinel is in play. And all right, that means no Bowmaster this turn, and there is some chance that my opponent is like, is it Delver, and is not just Grixis. And that, a lot lower chance of that being true now. I have Days to respect here, which probably means I do some ever so slightly awkward sequencing. All right, 17. I think I'm going to play the Cradle now. Play Birchlore to untap Nettle Sentinel. So we will go for some green mana. Go 1, 2. Play Wirewood, which untaps this. All right, we are getting a response. Yeah, there's the black that we suspected. Sure. We'll untap Nettle Sentinel. Looks like this is resolving. At which point, I will go ahead and just drop an Elvish Mystic. We're unfortunately out of gas for right now. But Wirewood Symbiote helps protect other creatures not named Wirewood Symbiote. And hopefully that's fine. Daze is okay. We're not going to have any issues playing around that. Oh, what the fuck is this? All right. When it ETBs, draw a card. You have no maximum hand size. Beginning of combat in your turn. If you've drawn more than one card this turn, put X +1/+1 counters on target creature you control, where X is the number of cards you've drawn this turn -1. Neat. Okay. I can respect the spice. All right. So a Delver starts scaling up. And hopefully I end up hitting harder than the Delver deck does. I need some help off the top. Huh. We doing this? No? Seems like no. Seems like no. I'll hit my opponent for 11. Let's just untap this directly. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to manually untap this and redeploy an Elvish Mystic and pass the turn. This was a card that I had missed. It is certainly interesting. It's legendary, so you can't stack them up the same way you can stack up beans. All right, Delver is going to continue to crash on in. I'm at 12. Yep, that's fine. This is notably a removal spell for my smaller creatures. Oh, okay. Understood. Let's fetch out a Dryad Arbor here. Increases the count for things like Cradle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, like, we're going for it. I guess we'll go 5, 6, 7, 8. Just cast Hoof if my opponent dazes. It's fine. Cast. Okay, cool. We stole that one. So Man, I wish I had grabbed Pick Your Poisons. I'm interested in these endurances and these chokes. I haven't seen Bowmasters. I assume that they are there. So the first thing I did last time was pull out all of the copies of Glimpse of Nature. Last time I cut Hoof. Hoof just won me a game. Maybe I leave it in the deck for Green Sun. What do I do this time? Maybe I don't Intruder Alarm on the draw here, because my opponent also has like Stalactite Stalkers that are very aggressive. And presumably a pretty decent pile of removal. Let's get rid of Intruder Alarm on the draw. I have no starting mana sources. Easy mulligan. Fuck, okay. Assuming no Lightning Bolt or Fatal Push, this hand is perfectly reasonable to good. I think I am going to keep a risky high upside 6-card hand here. And I don't know, I probably have like something on the order of 18 lands that I can draw. I guess I should. I don't care enough to look. All right. I've lost the Quirion Ranger. We are on Dryad Arbor Pass and hope that Lightning Bush, Fatal Push, and friends don't kill this. Bowmaster also kills this. Like, it's a little rough. All right, Bowmaster doesn't kill this turn. I guess Wasteland also kills it. Yay, there we go. Got it. Never punished. I am interested in this being a Dryad Arbor, because this is effectively 2 mana, counting the Gaia's Cradle. All right, great. We are dodging Bowmasters, which is fantastic. Are we seeing pressure or are we seeing a bolt? We are seeing pressure. So 1, 2, 3 mana, maybe 4 mana. I think I start here. So this is 1, 2. I think I'm going to do this for X is 1 and play around a daze. I think I might have missed a point of damage off an attack. I'm just going to go ahead and get an Allosaurus Shepherd. I could bounce this, replay it, untap Dryad Arbor, attack for 1. I maybe don't want to offer that trade, though. Yeah, let's just chill here. And I like the sound of Uncounterable Choke and Uncounterable Lord. No Wasteland is nice. Slightly afraid of something like a Murktide Regent coming in and being a large threat. So, what? 1, 2, 3 with Cradle, and then 1, 2, bounce, untap 3. I can attempt 2 chokes this turn. So let's attempt. Orcish Bowmasters. So, tap for green, untap this creature, bounce Allosaurus Shepherd, Bowmaster trigger fizzles, choke, gets Force of Willed. Now, I think it is worth jamming the other one into Daze. Like, that's my opponent's last card. Oh! Boo. That's brutal. I would make this trade, I think. All right, opponent accepts. That's fine. Like, this right now is just, like, very notably not an elf, and I don't want to keep taking 1 point of damage every turn from this. All right, let's see if the Delver flips. No Delver flip. Presumably a land that my opponent's going to shuffle away. Lightning Bolt is fine for now. Like, I'm just going to have the Allosaurus Shepherd, and shortly thereafter, an Elf Lord. Both Dryad Arbors are used. We'll just go ahead and do this one. And pass the turn for now. Opponent reveals Stalactite Stalker for funsies. I'll take that hit. Now, Stalactite Stalker can be a removal spell for something like the Allosaurus Shepherd. So that's just something to keep in mind. So play Nettle Sentinel, have 2 mana. Yeah, this is fine. So yaw, 2 mana. Cast this for X is 1. Wirewood Symbiote is reasonable. A second Allosaurus Shepherd is also very reasonable. I think I am just going to get that. That way, if my opponent decides to kill one with a Stalactite Stalker, I still have one to keep this uncounterable. And I think one activation of this probably ends the game. All right, so opponent's one card is Force of Will. This can attack if my opponent wants. There's not like a sorcery speed restriction on this or anything. Yeah, so it feels like that point of damage is free. I'll let my opponent have it. We'll see if they want to kill an Allosaurus Shepherd. If they don't do it now, they probably need to do it with this on the stack. Yep. That's fine. So I can attack for 3? Yeah, let's attack for 3 and then untap Nettle Sentinel. All right, that's 11. Yaw. Radle. Do this. And now all of a sudden, I am the beatdown instead. I am threatening an Allosaurus Shepherd activation very soon. That's not what my opponent wants to see. Like, a slow cantrip right now is pretty rough. And a land drop for me just gives me an Allosaurus Shepherd activation, which is super bad for my opponent. Yep. So 1, 2, 3. Oh, I don't have a Dryad Arbor to think about. I'll get the basic. I'm just gonna activate. Send him. All right, a Noble Death. GG's.
Today's video is sponsored by Eminence Gaming. They have run a ton of tournaments at this point, and you might know them from the competitive EDH scene, but their command tower software can be used for all sorts of different formats. It's really easy. You can even just give your players a QR code in order to get them all of their pairings and everything that they can need. I really love this software as a player, and you should talk to your stores about it. Consider using it. It's cool.
All right, what are we doing here? I can turn 1 Allosaurus Shepherd or turn 1 Dryad Arbor. I think this wasn't as awkward. I think I'm gonna mulligan. I can keep this one and I guess try to go infinite. Like turn 1 Trop Dryad Arbor. I use that I don't have the. It's going back. It's going back. This is a keep. I think I hope to just draw another copy of that in the mid game. I think it's very possible that I end up getting a Lord with one of these Green Suns. I don't know. It depends. That's not necessarily a Bowmaster's thing. What are we doing? Green Cloud Post, maybe? You wouldn't play Snow-Covered Forest if that was the case. So this is probably some sort of Reclaimer Elves type thing. Maybe Food Chain Goblins? Do I just Green Sun for a redraw here? I can Green Sun for 2 mana sources and work towards just ending my opponent with Allosaurus Shepherd, especially if I just rip Cradle. I think I'm just going to take a redraw, though. I don't necessarily think that I need to go full turbo here. Like, redraws at Cradles are so good. Ooh, yeah, okay. Yeah, we're going to be cooking with gas next turn. Might even be able to attack with an Allosaurus Shepherd activation of some kind. Okay. We are looking reclaimery over there. My opponent draws their Cradle first. What are you doing? Oh, okay, you need the mana burst? You're gonna like Green Sun for... No? Okay. Alright. Okay. I don't know what their last card is. I am unsure if that was worth the resources my opponent just put into that. If their last card is natural order, like, I'll shut up. I could sit here and think about this turn for a long time, or I can do this. Yeah. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. So yaw. 3. Cast this for 3. Get a Lord. Let's untap a creature, bounce a forest, play a land, go to combat, send in for 2. And what, I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 power on board. Okay. Fiend Artisan, sure. Got it. 1, 2, what, 3, 4, 5, 6. Attack with 3 giant bodies, something like that. Seems fine. Yeah. So let's keep. Oh, no. Let's keep you out of combat. Make everyone else massive. Let's activate this. Untap this. Bounce a forest. Go to combat. This is a very respectable turn 4. See if my opponent has a wild land in their deck that can help them through this situation. Cards like Glacial Chasm exist, but probably wouldn't be played in game 1 in this deck, or in that deck, period. There is the concession. So, I can play mid-range Endurances. I can play Natural Orders for Atraxas. Those are my sideboarding options. We're once again playing against an Orcish Bowmaster's deck, which is frustrating. That's 3 for 3. So much for trying to dodge. I think that means Glimpse of Nature goes. My opponent potentially has access to Arrakis for Atraxa. Still think I'm probably doing this. I want a matchup where I'm not playing against Orcish Bowmasters so that I can like leave in Glimpse of Nature and like glimpse through an Intruder Alarm where I get to just like untap my mana dorks and just go wild. But I just like have to board out Glimpse versus Bowmasters, and that's making my Intruder Alarms worse. I need to clear the grave. I think they have to go. I think I need to clear my opponent's graveyard for Fiend Artisan and Elvish Reclaimer purposes, and then I probably just trim 1 X1 creature of some kind. Like maybe trim 1 Visionary. This is fine. I don't think I'm going to throw back a hand that has a natural order. Alright. Thoughtseize or Mana Dork? Thoughtseize. If my opponent does not have another removal spell, I just think you take the natural order. It's just going to be the card that is hardest to beat of the things here. Oh, okay. They are leaving me with the natural order. Right, Arbor's a weird draw. I think I am just going to play my 1-drop creature directly into Orcish Bowmasters. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Just do it. Okay, cool. Second Thoughtseize? No. Cropper? Green Sun, sure. Got it. So I'm always playing this. Am I playing Dryad Arbor? Dryad Arbor's just kind of awkward right now. I'm going to play Verdant instead. I might end up playing Endurance. And I don't necessarily want to just throw Dryad Arbor into active removal. Like, losing a Heritage Druid sucks a little bit. Losing a Dryad Arbor, which would be my land drop, would be much worse. Because I have to keep in mind that, like, Green Sun for Grist is online. Oh, it's just Natural Order instead. This is presumably my opponent's Atraxa. Confirmed. Oh god, that's so many snuff outs. Holy shit, okay. They've got Green Sun, Bowmasters, Snuff Out, Cradle, 4 cards. Because of Snuff Out, I can't do a double block here. I could do a triple block, but I don't think that's actively good for me. Alright, 19. We'll see if my opponent snuffs out a Heritage Druid. It's like not the best to do so. I'm going to just turn this into a trop. So I would like my opponent to not respond to this spell. They need to respond with a Snuff Out, yeah. So I just need to put a mana producer into play, I think. Yeah, let's put like an Elvish Mystic into play and drop Dryad Arbor. And if my opponent takes out one of my 2 mana producers with Bowmasters, I just go 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm able to produce my own Atraxa. And then I at least stay competitive. Yeah. All right, Mystic gets taken out. I'm gonna take 8. Sure. Cradle probably represents my death next turn. I'm going for Hoof. They're not doing that. Okay, so they're going to go for Grist and take out my Dryad Arbor as well. Yeah, that's perfectly reasonable. And in fact, I think very good. So what? I will get hit for 8 in the air due to the Exalted. And I think I end up being just short of pulling off some natural order shenanigans of my own. I think I'm dead enough here that I'm going to concede. Like, I could keep wiggling, but I think this one has tipped in my opponent's favor. Yeah. I'll owe Bowmaster decks. Rough. I don't love seeing multiple Cradles here. Turn 1, Wirewood. Turn 2, 2 mana. Tap, Cradle Forest, play Visionary, start grinding that way. Or alternatively, Wirewood into Wirewood off Forest into Tap Guy's Cradle, Elvish Visionary. This is better than I gave it credit for, but is very, very, very awkward if my opponent snuffs out Wirewood Symbiote, because that ends up denying me a lot of mana. It's just an incredible tempo play here. All right, are you playing your own stuff, or are you going to Thoughtseize me? You're playing your own stuff. Is there the snuff out? There is not the snuff. There's the pause. There's the snuff out. That's rough. Now I don't get to play Elvish Visionary this turn. I could do it if I gave up Endurance on another card. I don't think that's worth it. I think I'm just going to go ahead and make this as a land drop and accept that awkwardness. Fuck you, Bowmasters. Oh, cool. Never mind. Everything's fine. Unless it's not. Green mana. Okay, that's a Dryad Arbor. Like, this is a very, very, very strong position for my opponent. Is this Dryad Arbor or a regular land? I think a regular land. A lot of it depends on what I hit off Elvish Visionary. I think it's a regular land. So take my redraw. Heritage Druid. 2 mana. I think I'm just doing a redraw. Let's untap this. Bounce my Visionary. Redeploy my Visionary. Okay, we've got a path forward. I have to potentially deal with my opponent getting something like a Grist in play this turn off Fiend Artisan, which would sort of suck. I guess my opponent can also just get Bowmasters. They're doing this for X's too, so I presume that's what's happening. Yes. That's fine. So I'm going to vomit stuff into play. I'm just going to click on cards and assume that I get to cast everything in my hand. I'm not going to think about this. I maybe should, but I'm pretty sure that this just works out fine. So 3 mana, cast this. Then I have 4 mana, cast this face up. 3 mana, cast this, clear my opponent's graveyard. Drinking the Fiend Artisan in process. And then next turn, I just go Cradle, activate, and my opponent presumably dies. They have 3 cards in hand, so they have some ability to like mess around with what I'm doing. Like, I could just rip a natural order. Yeah. Is there no hoof to kill me? Is the hoof in hand? Given how long this is taking, maybe my opponent has boarded out a critical card or has them in hand. Nope, that's a hoof. What, 6, 12, 18, 19, 29. I can block 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm dead. That's unfortunate. My opponent was better at drawing natural order than we were. GG's. So my hand doesn't do anything here. Like, I have a bunch... I have a bunch of creatures. I have Gaia's Cradle for mana, but this Intruder Alarm doesn't do anything right now. I don't have anything to pump my Cradles into. I'm just going to ship this one. Oh boy, that's awkward. Dryad Arbor pass. Turn 2. Heritage Druid, Nettle Sentinel. If I draw an elf, it's reasonable. That's assuming that Dryad Arbor doesn't die. I think I go to 5. Easily the best hand so far. Dryad Arbor goes back. And probably Quirion Ranger. It's possible I toss back Wirewood and just try to keep the elves that will get pumped by this. I could see that. This is not a particularly powerful hand, though. I think I ignore Trop and get a basic. And I would like to turn Green Sun into a Mana Elf on turn 2 rather than a Dryad Arbor on turn 1. Fuck. GG. We lose game 1. So my opponent is going to be on Dredge. I have 4 copies of Endurance in my sideboard to help with this sort of thing. But it's incredibly tough for me to race this deck without Natural Order. And I don't have Scavenging Ooze. And I don't have Bojuka Bog. Yup. Alright. So I'll fetch. Do this for 1. I don't think this is a Mana Dork anymore. I think this is now Allosaurus Shepherd. I think I just need to be able to rip a Cradle and kill my opponent. I think that's going to be incredibly important. Let's see how good my opponent's Dredge is. Bridge from below in yard. No further Dredger. That's lucky. Unfortunately, my opponent has a way to put that Dredger back. We are a little lucky that they didn't dredge over other dredgers, though. Oh, that's a lot of bridge from belows. Sure. You have something like a breakthrough to just blow me out here. It is another Faithless Looting, so that gets a Stinkweed Imp dredge, followed by a couple more dredges. There's Troll in there now. Life's bad, and these bridge from belows are going to mean that my opponent can have access to a relatively large number of creatures very quickly. Let's see. Play Heritage Druid. 3 mana off the creatures. Play Imperious Perfect. Bounce a forest, untap 1 thing, attack in for 2. That just results in my opponent getting a bunch of extra creatures. Which is not great. Yeah. I won't even do the attack here. I'm just going to play this and pass. And I want to kill my opponent in 1 shot. I am going to lazily fetch a Dryad Arbor here so I can F6 my opponent's turn. I don't expect to need to untap a creature here. This Stinkweed. My opponent might exile an Icarid to an Icarid here. Bringing back 3 every turn is really tough. What, I'm going to take 7. My opponent can flashback Faithless Looting. Yeah, life's bad. I need, like, a Cradle. Multiple Narcomoebas. That is now all 4 Bridge from Belows and Cabal Therapy to help. My opponent might just, like, produce too many blockers for me. Oh, God. My opponent has left 1 card in their library, so they are going to intend on killing me next turn, which should be very easy with multiple Cabal Therapies and all this jazz. So they just like Cabal Therapy me, sacrificing the Narcomoebas, use that to bring back Hogak. You can sacrifice the Hogak to a Cabal Therapy if they want to produce more creatures. I'm not really sure if like this is the proper way to do this. Like, it probably ends up working out fine. I want to fast forward to my opponent's end step here. Alright, my opponent has made a very large number of zombies. I don't think there's any way that I can present lethal through this. I think it's just too much. And a few more after the Icarids die. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 produce a couple of blockers. I'm very dead in combat. I unfortunately have to concede. Opponent, what was that? Turn 3'd me? Effectively. So I get 4 copies of Endurance, and I think I have to become faster with the natural orders for Atraxa. That's the only way that I can keep up. I don't get to get cute here. I guess I'm cutting my lords. I'm just trying to become lean and low to the ground. What am I trimming from there? Firewood Elvish Visionary is slow. I'm going to leave a Visionary to Natural Order for. And hope that I go faster than my opponent. Which I don't think is going to happen. At least not twice in a row. Alright, I have an Endurance in my hand, so my hand is a keep. The Wirewood Symbiote is currently the card that would get pitched to Endurance. I think I am leading on fetch land, get. Drop is fine. Gives my opponent more to think about. Play Allosaurus Shepherd, then turn 2, I get 2 Birchlaw Rangers into Gaia's Cradle and maybe do something else. My opponent is on 4 cards. So we're going to beat them. This is the time. But we absolutely should not underestimate what Dredge is capable of on a few cards. Just to note this, there's some timelines where I pitch Dryad Arbor to Endurance. Yeah, you get to Cabal Therapy my Endurance away, unfortunately. Yep. And now I have to, like, try and race my opponent. Which maybe I do since they're on so few cards. But my opponent just needs to cast one more card, right? Like, one Faithless Looting that gets this show on the road is a disaster. Alright. So, cast creature, play land, Wirewood, combat, attack for 1. Next turn, I can potentially start doing cool stuff with Allosaurus Shepherd. So I play Dryad Arbor. I have 6. I attack for what? 5, 10, 11, 12? Ah, fuck. And my opponent has double Dredger. We could effectively just lose the game on the spot here. Opponent has Leyline of Sanctity. Good to know about. Opponent gets second Dredge. We're hoping that they do not put bodies into play. No bridges, though? That's lucky. Oh, no. 1 bridge. Okay, so my opponent can produce some 2/2s. This can't hit Dryad Arbor. I would not be surprised if my opponent just targets me and names Natural Order blind. Well, I don't think I need to tell you that that was a good draw. Cast Endurance. Send away that graveyard. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. So my opponent mulled into Oblivion there. That was real good for us. I can consider Oof. It's not good against that many cards in my opponent's deck, and by the time it comes down, I think it's too late. I think I'm just going to stay elf heavy here. Alright. My opponent has kept their 7-card hand. I have a Natural Order that I can do relatively quickly, but I really think this is not going to be keepable. I think I need Endurance. Can we do something with Glimpse here? Turn 1, drop Green Sun, Dryad Arbor. Turn 2, Glimpse, Nettle Sentinel before tapping Gaia's Cradle. Maybe I keep this and attempt to just do a traditional Elves combo line and race my opponent. I'm going to get rid of Natural Order. I think I am going to rely on Glimpse here. Alright, my opponent has Leyline, so that invalidates Endurance. That's not the plan. Let's see how good my opponent is from here. Cabal Therapy resolves. I don't know what they would name here. Oh, okay, they targeted themselves. Sure. So what they have... These 3 cards left. Okay. That's reasonable. It's a race. The Cephalid Coliseum, I think, puts my opponent relatively far ahead in that race. I Dryad Arbor. My opponent dredges, goes to exact... Oh, so much for exactly 7 cards. If they bring these out of graveyard, they don't get to do crack Cephalid Coliseum this turn anymore. Okay. I guess they could discard their hand to LED to accomplish that instead. And that probably ends up being just fine. Okay, so they have made their red mana. They go up to 8 cards in graveyard, so they can activate Cephalid Coliseum using Mana Confluence. And we'll see how bad this is. Hit a Faithless Looting, so incredibly bad. Just completely ignoring everything else that they could possibly get, the Faithless Looting is just 12 more cards into their graveyard. And they can Cabal Therapy me, what, 1, 2, yeah, they have 4 Cabal Therapies. They can take every card out of my hand if they guess well on the first one. We're dead. We got turn 2'd by Dredge. Yeah, 4 Bridge from Belows as well. I'm just going to go ahead and concede here. The writing is on the wall. GG's. So I need another mana source here to pop off really hard. I think I'm keeping this one anyway. I will be happy as long as my opponent isn't playing another godforsaken Orcish Bowmaster's deck and just invalidating everything that I tried to do for the channel today. Rough. Okay. I think despite the Intruder Alarm here, I think I just get the basic to start things off. My land is incredibly valuable. Dryad Arbor or Elvish Mystic. I think Elvish Mystic. That way, if we rip another land, I can play like Elf, and Heritage Druid nonsense. All right, yep, confirmed. Orcish Bowmaster's deck. That's super unfortunate. 4 of our 5 rounds against it. That just means, like, once again, I have to board out the Glimpse package. I'm going to make it throughout an entire video without Intruder. Oh, fuck, okay. Phyrexian Dreadnought Death's Shadow it is. So this phases it out and puts a +1/+1 counter on it. Sure. All right. Well, I'm on the clock. Am I going to try to make infinite creatures? I don't think so. So play Heritage Druid. Play Nettle Sentinel. 2/3 mana. Play Nettle Sentinel. Untap Nettle Sentinel. Cast Birchlore Ranger. Do this. What am I green sunning for? Am I just getting the Lord? Maybe I'm just getting the Lord anyway. This is Dazable, which I don't love. Seems like my opponent doesn't have it. Let's get the creature. Make a blue. That doesn't get me anywhere immediately. Pass turn. 2, 4, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Not quite lethal. Real close to lethal. Take a lot of damage. That's some shit. Oh wait, it's not, is it? Oh no, it is, because now they don't produce mana anymore. Yeah. So all those mana abilities are off. That's very unfortunate. So I pass turn. Press down gets sacked. 2, 4, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I can technically trade with the Dreadnought. That sure doesn't feel good. 2, 4, 7, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Yeah, it has to be everything. That sucks. Yeah, if my opponent doesn't have the dress down, I just create infinite creatures. And then I can easily block the Dreadnought. And I lose my entire board to trade with Dreadnought here. And I lose my entire board for nothing if my opponent has a removal spell. Now, I can make an extra token here. That token is borderline irrelevant. Alright, the world is gone. Fuck Bowmasters. I'm over this card. Note that I mean specifically within the context of this league, where I just said from the beginning of the deck tech that I could not beat Orcish Bowmaster decks, and then I played against 4 in a row. Yeah. It's incredibly unlikely that I can string together a win from here. Like, I am on a 3-turn clock from these creatures, and soon, like, Death Shadow starts getting into playable range. Alright. Take 2. Just deal damage to me. Yep. I'm gonna take that. If I'm going to win, I do require bodies in play. Like, I will take 1 more hit from both of these, and then I'll start trading. Note that, like, I don't care about playing this out pre-combat. If my opponent has another Bowmasters, I'm just always dead. I'm never beating it. Sure. Again, I'm just going to take the damage. I would like to try to win this game. If I like trade for these bodies, I'm just going to lose to the next threat anyway. I'm going to try to play to win. I have to unfortunately cast that as a face-up creature. Can't play it as a 2/2 given this board. And now I have to start trading for creatures. Sure. Oh, no shock. Okay, opponent has stopped attacking. That is incredibly favorable for me. I can cast an Intruder Alarm tapping some of my creatures, but if I do so and it gets countered, I don't get to actually untap my stuff. I don't think I'm going to do that. I think I'm just going to pass the turn here. Turtle up. Dead to Bowmasters at any point. Alright, there's Wasteland on Dryad Arbor. That's fine. I don't think that needs to happen on my turn. You know my last card is Intruder Alarm. Like, you can just fully wait. Glimpse is a dead card. And at any point here, my opponent will just draw a threat and break this game wide open. I don't have game 1 natural orders. My opponent is playing out an awful lot of lands for someone who, like, has just brainstormed. Okay. I guess I don't play it. Just immediately eats it to Wasteland. I can save it as a potential. No, I don't even have natural order in game 1. Please kill me. I am miserable. End my existence. What has probably happened is that my opponent has a handful of incredibly situational cards that don't really do anything here since they are playing the Phyrexian Dreadnought package. Yeah. So now they've finally lined things up. Yeah, there's the Stifle. So I am just dead to that. And despite having 4 cards in my hand, none of them do anything here. So I yet again end up in this situation where the entire thing that I built my deck around can't be used, which is frustrating. So the next question becomes, like, do I need Natural Order as an out, or do I just play Endurance as generic beaters? Natural Order is bad versus counterspells. Let's get all but 2 of these out. Get me these. If I trim 1x1, I can keep Intruder Alarms, or I can cut Intruder Alarms to play Endurance. Endurance is in respect of Murktide Regent, which may or may not be in my opponent's deck. I think I'm going to keep the Intruder Alarms, 2 of them. I think the ability to produce infinite creatures to have an out to onboard Dreadnought is okay. 1 mana source, kind of 2 with Quirion and Birchlore. I have really powerful cards if I get to cast them. I think I'm going to keep this and kind of hope that my opponent's deck's clunkiness slows them down in some capacity. Like, they are playing a decent number of bad cards that might clunk up their hand and just make it harder for them to interact in the early game. And I'm going to lean on that a little bit here and hope that things go well for me. That's nice. So do this. I think play Wirewood first, then play Quirion. I am set up to choke next turn. Attack for 1. I also can Natural Order relatively quickly, but I think I'm going to try to use some of this stuff to pave the way for Natural Order actually resolving. Are we Fatal Pushing? No. Great. Opponent notably did not shock themselves that first time. All right. That's a lot of pressure. Yep. Sure. So now, do I need to shove my Natural Order in here? Like, if I choke, I just take 13 and then I'm dead. Sucks. All right. So tap 2 elves. Return a forest. Untap target creature. 4 mana. Attempt Natural Order. I think sacrifice the Quirion. And just see if we dodge counter spells. Oh. How much damage is Hoof? +3, +3, 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, 13, 14, 15, 16. Cool. Yeah. Alright, stole 1. I don't think the sideboard plan changes at all. Alright, my opponent has kept their 7. I have Fetch, Elvis Mystic into turn 3 Natural Order. The Atraxa that is in hand is awkward. And I really would like more castable spells than this. I think I ship this one. I think it's too likely that it does nothing. I throw back Intruder Alarm and attempt to keep a natural order hand. Stifle on fetch lands is a little awkward here. I don't get to play around it, though. Fetch. Cool. Basic. Dryad Arbor. I think I would like this to be Dryad Arbor. Yeah. So this gives me cast, fetch, Dryad Arbor, and then natural order the following turn. Oh, no other land drop. I didn't get dazed last turn. I think I am into play elf, 3 mana choke, and if this gets countered, cool. If it doesn't get countered, cool. Like if a counter spell takes this instead of natural order, like this is perfectly fine for me. That is a-okay with me. We know that my opponent is not making a land drop this turn unless they cast something like a Ponder to get deeper into their deck. Okay, there's the Ponder. Wasteland would be annoying. That's a fast shuffle. No land drop. Holy shit. Okay. So, fetch. Dryad Arbor. This is free, right? Play Nettle Sentinel. 4 mana. Cast 1 natural order. I think I just sacrifice a Nettle Sentinel. Let's see if it resolves. It does not. I'll try again next turn. Bash for 2, putting my opponent to 15. So my opponent is having mana woes. They are passing the turn. Birchlore Rangers is free again, just kind of due to how Gaia's Cradle interacts with creatures. I will cast a new natural order. Sacrifice a Birchlore Rangers. So, Hoof is 3, 6, 9, 12, 13, 14, 15, plus 5 lethal. I have to consider what happens if my opponent has a Stifle. And if my opponent has a Stifle, I think I want Atraxa rather than Crater Hoof. All right. I will get a land, a sorcery, and a creature. That's fine. So, land. 1, 2, 3, 4. Second natural order. Sacrificing a Dryad Arbor. Daze is fine. I don't care about that. So now I have a 2-turn clock in play. My opponent can't make a second land drop. Atraxa is immune to most common removal spells. Like it's not going to hit Snuff Out, Fatal Push, Dismember, so on and so forth. Oh, they're paying some life. Sure. Oh. That's not bad. Play Allosaurus Shepherd. What? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I can just do this just the same. Yaw. Go to combat. Attack. Attack. After no blocks, activate this. Slip out the back. Sure. Yeah, you still take 5. Going to 8. And lethal is very much on board, and you have made my Atraxa larger. All right, we have gotten the GGs. And despite it all, we do put up 2 wins this league. So this is how things go sometimes. Like sometimes you build something knowing that you're going to be bad against something, and you only pair into that thing. That is the universe's sense of humor. I built a deck knowing that Orcish Bowmasters would absolutely crap on me, and Orcish Bowmasters is 40% of the format, and instead we played against it 80% of the time. C'est la vie. Conceptually, Intruder Alarm was awkward in practice. I think we had 2 scenarios where it presented the ability to make infinite creatures, and it did not work out either time. It is hard for me to say whether or not I built an effective deck that had Intruder Alarm in it, because I played against 4 Orcish Bowmaster decks where I just had to board out the core of this deck. And if I can't Glimpse of Nature, then the Intruder Alarm's secondary purpose is dead. to be part of a combo engine, and it's only the primary reason that it's in the deck for infinite creatures that makes it good. I needed those sideboarded natural orders because Glimpse was just completely unviable in the matches that I was playing. So, as a sub lesson here, this is why you don't play Glimpse of Nature Elves anymore, despite it being a very fast goldfishing deck. Bowmasters is too good. Like, it has warped the format to the point where you can't play a deck based around X1 creatures. And that's why so many pilots that maybe used to play things like Death and Taxes are gravitating more towards initiative decks and Ancient Tomb stompy decks of various natures. Because playing, your Thalias and your Llanowar Elves and your Heritage Druids just isn't safe anymore. So, would we have had better success in this league playing 4 copies of Intruder Alarm and then the various token producers? In this specific one, maybe. In general, I like what I've put together conceptually. I think it has a decent chance of winning if you're not just repeatedly queuing into Bowmasters. But in this specific league where it was just mono Bowmasters, the other version would have probably been better. Although, like, relying on Collected Company against Daze, the Force of Will decks is also, like, a little bit sketchy as well. And the mana dorks that I would have put into that other version still would have gotten bodied by Bowmasters, so let me know in the comments kind of how you would have approached this one. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the day, and if you end up needing some cards, check out Cool Stuff Inc. and use promo code ThrabenU to save a little bit on your order. All right, that's all I've got. Have a great rest of the day. See ya.